Back on Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery and Locked on Sports Atlanta. YouTube.com is the place to go. Hit that subscribe button when you find our page. Leave us a comment, and then we are free and available on all your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Downloads for free today. Leave us a 5-star review. Hit me up on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. What a weekend it is. Listen, college football does it right. You know, the NASCAR takes their biggest event of the year, the Daytona 500, and runs it in that very first weekend. And I think it's a brilliant move. I think it's great strategy to do something like that. Well, college football does the same thing. With this weekend, you start last night on Thursday. You get games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You get college football. It dominates the whole weekend. It dominates the conversation, and you get so many cool matchups. And you get these opening matchups in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, at Jerry's World, the Superdome, right? You get all of these really cool events that go on across the country for college football. So they do it right. They really get things cranked up and going. Last night was a great start. You saw the backyard brawl. Hey, my Akron Zips won. Anyway, we won't talk about all that. Tennessee rolling early on. Ball State stinks, so don't worry about all of that. So some thoughts about this weekend in the world of college football. Let's start with the Georgia Bulldogs here locally, taking on Oregon. Look, Oregon loses Kayvon Thibodeau, but they still have a pretty good amount of personnel on that defensive line, a really solid offensive line. And guess what? They're going to get run over by Georgia. Georgia and their defensive line and their skilled people is too much for Oregon. Oregon coming across country here and getting ready to play Georgia. I like Oregon. I think Oregon's got a pretty good team, but Bo Nix at quarterback, with all due respect, how far you think you're going with Bo Nix at quarterback? So I know Georgia's about an 18 and a half point favorite. I like Georgia all day long to cover that game. I think the talent just eventually overwhelms. The depth of talent overwhelms Oregon. You know, I think the fun matchup, Oregon's defensive front versus Georgia's offensive line. Who wins that battle out there? Georgia with one of the probably 5 or 6 best offensive lines in all of college football. And even losing Thibodeau, Oregon is really good up front on their defensive line. But too many athletes, too many good skill position people. You know, this is a game where, you know, look, Georgia's going to try to establish its running game early and then open that thing up and start hitting some big strikes against Oregon. I expect Georgia to win, and I expect them to win and cover big. Monday night, Clemson, Georgia Tech. Whew, not exactly the way you want to open if you're Georgia Tech out there. Look, this is not fair to say, okay, but it's probably reality. And that is Georgia Tech is going to go as far as Jeff Sims can take them. Now, it's probably not fair to put everything on one kid in a college program. But in Georgia Tech's case, either Jeff Sims at quarterback is going to take that next step and develop as he's in the third year in this system now and get them in the right direction, or things are going to go sideways. Because if they, you know, I don't think they're going to beat Clemson by any stretch. Clemson may have the best defensive front in the country. And if those guys can stay healthy, Brissy and those guys, they are, you know, they would have been even more dominant last year, but injuries really killed Clemson on their defensive front. But if Sims can step up and he can elevate his game to the next level in both running the football and most importantly is throwing the football. They have some playmakers. Malachi Carter is a nice wide receiver. They can run the football some. They're not terrible on their offensive line. Do they match up with Clemson talent-wise? Not even close. It's not. It's again. It's, you know, bringing up. You know, it's a fist fight where Clemson's bringing a bazooka though to come along with it. I don't expect Tech to win. I don't expect them to cover. But what I want to see is, can Jeff Sims and this offense do some things against Clemson? Right? Can they do something against that defense? And I think Clemson is going to be one of those teams. Look, I think they're number 4 in the country right now. I think they're preseason number 4. I think they're one of the teams that you better be careful throwing dirt on, that, you know, they're done and Dabo's this and all that. Okay. Wait till you see what they line up and trot on. And I think one thing about Clemson is they're going to be coached much better offensively this year. They were not coached very well offensively. And I think that's one of the big things is changing up offensive coordinators as their OC left. I think that's going to make a big difference. Clemson's going to try to get back to being what Clemson football is. And hopefully Georgia Tech, I think the swing game is finding a way to win down in Central Florida. Because if they don't win down in Central Florida, they most likely are 1-4 to start the season with Clemson, Ole Miss, Central Florida, Western Carolina. Their schedule's not very easy at the very beginning of the year. If they can beat Central Florida, they might get out of the first 5 games 2-3. 1-4, probably going to be hard to bounce back from. Now, Ohio State and Notre Dame. I think Ohio State is, without question, the best offense in college football this year. Stroud is my pick to win the Heisman. Trayvon Henderson is as good a running back as there is in college football. Their wide receiver room is the best positional unit group in America. And that's after losing 2 first-round NFL wide receivers. They're guys that they have, the Marvin Harrisons Jr.'s and all those guys. That group is the best group in America. And they're going to average probably at least 50 points a game this year. And by the way, throw in the fact that they might have the best offensive line in all of college football. They have multiple guys who are going to be looked at as first-round draft picks in the NFL. So, I don't know. Let's see. Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback, the best wide receiver group in America, a first-team All-American caliber running back, and the best offensive line in college football. Yeah, that spells pretty good deal. Maybe they're not so great at tight end. I'm joking here, but they're going to be a 50-point-per-game offense. And I think Notre Dame does some things well. I think Notre Dame is another group that you talk about one of the top 5 offensive lines in America. They're it. But you have a new starter at quarterback, guys at running back that aren't experienced. They lost their top running back from the last couple of years. It was a 1,000-yard rusher. Their offense won't be able to keep up. The key to this game is I want to see what Jim Knowles, who might end up being the most important assistant coach hire in college football. He's the defensive coordinator for Ohio State. He's coming over from Oklahoma State, where he made them a top-tier defense. If they can get their defensive front, because they got a lot of questions at linebacker, they have 2 outstanding cornerbacks. They might have the 2 best corners in the Big Ten, which is a scary thought because that's back to being Denzel Ward and all those guys that were all NFL draft picks, right, for years. I think they're going to hammer Notre Dame. I think it's going to be fun kind of early on, but when they get that passing game and they get that running game going, Notre Dame is going to get hammered by Ohio State. So I don't know what the spread is in the game, but I'll take Ohio State's offense all night long. If I'm Notre Dame, I'm going to do everything I can to establish the run because that was the thing that killed Ohio State's defense last year. They got gashed in their running game. And that's why they made the big move and brought Jim Knowles over, is because Ryan Day had to get his defense fixed. That's what people out there were screaming about. Better get your defense fixed. So I think they're going to end up hammering Notre Dame when all is said and done. One intriguing game that I really like that I want to see what this looks like is 2 really good up-and-coming programs. And I think that this is a matchup of a couple of teams that are some of the best coached teams in all of college football, and that is the Cincinnati-Arkansas matchup. And look, I don't think Cincinnati is going to be the same team that they were last year. They lost too much. The Sauce Gardners and the obviously the quarterback that's here now, right? Like they have just lost too much off of that team, NFL caliber team, to be able to get themselves to the playoff this year. But it doesn't mean that they still won't be a really good team. And Arkansas with Sam Pittman is one of the better up-and-coming programs in the country. This is going to be a fun matchup to kind of gauge and evaluate, because I think both teams are coached really well. But I think Arkansas is sort of underrated offensively at quarterback, running back, or wide receiver. I think they are a really good offensive group. And I think that they're going to handle Cincinnati in this game. But this is a game of 2 of the best coached teams in the country. I'll take Arkansas, especially being at home. And I really like this matchup in this game here as well. As far as some of the other games go, Sunday night, Florida State at LSU. Well, look, Florida State got their running game going, which we've been kind of waiting for the last few years out there. I think LSU is the sneaky good, potentially 3rd best team in the SEC when all is said and done. I'm not guaranteeing it or anything, but I really like what Brian Kelly has going on. But Florida State got its feet wet last week and really got that running game going. Can they keep that momentum? I thought their offense played really well. Now, I understand it was Duquesne, so it's hard to measure what that all is out there. But this is a very intriguing matchup. I like LSU a lot. I think playing at the Superdome always gives them a big advantage out there. But that Sunday night game, If Florida State can keep their running game going like it did in week 1, they might find a way to keep this thing close. It's going to be a great weekend of college football. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday night, and then we get ready for NFL next week. We thank you so much for making Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen every day. Make our friends over at ATL Day Ones your second listen every day. Jarvis Davis and Notre Batiste, my friends over there, talking about all things in the heart of the city of Atlanta. Free and available on our YouTube page at Locked On Sports Atlanta. And, of course, you can download us for free on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Download us for free there today. And, of course, follow me on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. Hope everybody has a great Labor Day weekend. We will talk to you on Tuesday of next week. This has been Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta.